Hello and welcome back to Tachikawa. You are listening to Sakamichi Nights. My name is Matthew Boynton, and I'm joined, as always, by Daniel Bellamy. How are you today, Daniel?
Great. How are you?
I'm excellent, actually. Okay. I have to say, feeling a little bit tired. Still, it's Wednesday when we're recording this, and Sunday, the last weekend, Sunday, was Hanami for me.
For you, yeah.
And that always leaves a few days for recovery. You know, Hanami always goes pretty Hanami, doesn't it? Think back to, how long have you been in Japan now? How long have you been in Japan?
I came in 2001. I left for a few years, so whatever that is.
15 plus years.
Sure.
What is the Hanamiest Hanami that you've ever been to?
I once Hanami'd so hard that I fell asleep in the park and woke up the next day.
That's pretty hard Hanamiing.
Yeah.
Which park was it?
I think we actually did a couple parks. I can't remember where we started. It was a long time ago.
Crawl.
But we ended up, it was a park crawl, yeah. But we ended up, I think, going into Shibuya, I think with designs to go somewhere, like an indoor location, and ended up just going to Yoyogi Park and carrying on there. And then I woke up the next morning in the park by myself.
So your companions had abandoned you in the park?
It's much more likely that I abandoned them.
Right.
Not necessarily in the park, but I woke up in the morning in the park, and, you know, people were already kind of there and, you know, getting started on things, so...
Did you try and play it off? Did you be like, yeah, I was just having a little nap
taking out this spot. Don't nobody take this place.
I was doing my morning run and I got really sleepy all of a sudden.
No, I don't think anybody's really paying that much attention to me.
You could have, I mean, if there were people showing up already, then you could have just joined another Hanami and kept that party moving.
I didn't really have that energy at the time. I did grab a Chuhai on my way out because I was like, this is going to be a rough train ride. It was when I was living in Chiba, so yeah, it would have been 2002, I guess, something like that.
It's quite a long
train ride. So it was a long train ride back by myself, super hungover, so. The
train ride of shame.
Yeah.
With a Chuhai.
You know, at least I had my shoes.
Covered in sakura. Has there been another Hanami when you've gone home without your shoes?
No. I mean, that would have taken the top spot for sure. But I had a friend who ended up sleeping in Yoyogi Park and woke up without shoes. They had been taken from him in the night.
Or perhaps he had thrown them into the lake in a fit of shoeless passion.
It's possible. Yeah, it's possible.
That's a pretty hard Hanamiing experience. I always enjoy it when I invite people to things and then the things immediately go sideways. I remember I was once Hanamiing in Kogane Park with some Japanese friends who I knew from the local bar where I used to drink. And the master there, the owner, organized a Hanami. You went along, you paid a few thousand yen, and you basically got to take as much booze as you wanted out of the cooler.
Okay, right.
Pretty cool. Almost everybody there was Japanese, having a good time, but I was quite new to Japan, so I was having a hard time communicating effectively with everyone. So I called up a British friend of mine who I knew lived locally, get down to the park, enjoy some cool Hanami with me and all my new buddies. He shows up 45 minutes later, exactly as one of the other Japanese folks is wedging another Japanese guy so hard that he ripped his underpants clean in half.
Yeah, this sounds like hanging out with Japanese male adults. Yeah.
And
this is going to happen eventually.
The look on his face as he just sat down. Oh, yeah, nice to meet everyone. So I pay the money here, then I just take the money. Oh, wedgie. Oh, that's quite the atomic wedgie. That's when you completely rip the waistband off the underpants. Yeah, pretty hard Hanamiing. It wasn't that hard this year, I will say.
No wedgies. No atomic wedgies.
I don't remember any atomic wedgies. Gentle wedgies. That's not to say that none of them happened. But Inokashira Park and then a bit of karaoke. It's a good time. But feeling a little sleepy even now when it's Wednesday.
Yeah.
Now, we're not just here to reminisce about Hanamis gone by, are we? Like so many sakura petals falling from the trees. We're here to wax poetic about beer. Isn't that right?
Celebration time.
It is time to celebrate some beers.
Ooh, twist.
It's
twist
the
ending.
sequel. It's just like Aliens being the sequel to Alien.
Yep.
This
Predators.
time, is that the
I
Michael
think it's
Jackson
called Predator
movie?
too, but oh wow, okay.
We'll leave that one in. Anyway, yeah, we're going to be celebrating more than one beer on this week's episode, aren't we?
Very exciting.
What are the beers that we are going to be celebrating?
We're going to celebrate two beers because they are related. We're going to celebrate Rabbit Kick, which is a hazy IPA, or a mountain IPA, if you will.
A hazy double IPA.
You're right. I'm sorry. I screwed that up. Sorry. We're going to celebrate Rabbit Punch, which is a hazy IPA.
Yep.
And also Rabbit Kick, which is a hazy double IPA, or hazy imperial IPA, I guess.
Interesting. We're already tripping over.
I've fluffed this hard.
The nomenclature here, because I think these beers, their named styles have changed recently.
I want to back up for a second and just note that I said I fluffed that hard. I'm not sure what I was going for there, but I feel like there's two meanings there. Anyway, the point is the words didn't come out right. I don't speak good.
But you do fluff well.
I fluff hard, apparently.
Yeah, we can both agree on that. Rabbit Punch is the hazy IPA. Rabbit Kick is the hazy double IPA, imperial IPA. But until recently, I think both of these were called mountain IPAs, weren't they?
Yeah.
I don't know what the background behind that change is. Maybe it was confusing for people. They wanted to know what mountain IPA was. Have you experienced that a lot since we've put the Mount Crushmore on tap in here? Have you had people asking you what a mountain IPA is a lot?
Certainly. Yeah, I think it's not a totally familiar style, and customers want to know. We've written it on there on the style board, and people want to know what they're getting into so they can make an informed choice. So for us, most of our kegs are going through our taps, and so we're mostly dealing with that question. But I think if we had a bigger brewery and we were sending out more kegs or we were sending out cans, then you're offloading that question and answer to your clients, right? Other shops and bars that are selling your beer. So I can understand under those kind of circumstances that you might feel like we should just call it a hazy IPA to make it easier for everybody.
Right. And that is pretty descriptive as well, I think, because these beers are hazy and fruity and tropical, and they have a lot of the hallmarks of a hazy IPA as well. Well, we're going to be tasting two beers, so why don't we radically re-energize the format a little bit more by tasting both of them at once.
What?
Are you prepared for this madness? Comparative tasting. So we've both got a glass each of Rabbit Punch, that's the hazy IPA, and Rabbit Kick, that's the hazy double IPA or imperial IPA in front of us. They do taste different. I don't think I've ever had a glass of both of these at the same time in front of me.
Had both of these beers.
We've had both of them, but never at the same time. But rather than focusing at first on the differences, what are some of the things that you think are similar about these two beers?
We looked at the recipe beforehand, and they both use the same malt bill, and they use the same yeast as well. They have two hops in common as well. They both use Columbus and Sorachi Ace. But I think beyond that, they both do the mountain IPA thing, which as I described to customers, is kind of half hazy and half West Coast. So half fruity and juicy, but with a bitter backbone to it. And I think they both hit those hallmarks. I think Mount Crushmore does as well. Rabbit Punch is 45 IBUs and Rabbit Kick is 55 IBUs. For reference, for people who know, Shibasaki Session is 45 IBUs. And I think that's kind of, to me, that's a medium, almost medium-high bitterness. And both of these give you the kind of the fruitiness up front and then come through with a bitter backbone, a bit of a bitter snap on the back end.
Yeah, they look quite similar as well, don't they? Not to be too frivolous, but they're both clearly hazy, although I think the Rabbit Kick is noticeably maybe a couple of shades darker, isn't it? And as they use the same yeast, I think the yeast character is similar. It's just a clean, nice, juicy IPA, hazy IPA character. And the malt bill, I think they do use the same malts, at least according to the website. Probably the Rabbit Kick uses quite a bit more of them. So maybe that's why we're getting a little bit more sweetness and a tiny bit more octane out of this one, for want of a better word. We're going on to the differences now. How do you think these two beers are different?
I get more kind of easily identifiable fruitiness from the Rabbit Punch, I find. It kind of tastes like dank grapefruit, so a combination of sweetness and citrusiness and bitterness.
Grapefruits that have been left in a cellar for too long.
Right, yeah, the way we all like them. It also has a bit of that... I'm not as familiar being American, but is it marmalade that has like the bits of peel in it as well? When you bite in, is that right? Or no?
Yes, I think...
Some marmalades.
You know, I'm not a huge marmalade expert. I'll hold my hands up now and admit it. But having recently watched Paddington 2, I remember there were bits in that marmalade.
Right, bits of the peel though, right?
Yes,
and you get that kind of that zest, bitterness in there. I get that kind of sense from Rabbit Punch quite a lot. I think that's the overriding character for me.
Citrusy zestiness.
Sure.
You mentioned that they have two hops in common. One of the hops that the Rabbit Punch has that the Rabbit Kick doesn't is Idaho 7.
Yeah.
If you remember, we made a beer with Idaho 7 last year, and especially when it was very fresh, that had a very citrusy, orangey, mikan-y kind of flavor to it, didn't it?
Yeah.
So maybe that's what that is.
They also use Vic Secret in that one, and I know they did a single hop beer with Vic Secret. That's Two Rabbits did, and that was really nice as well. So a hop with a lot of character, enough that it can carry a beer just on its own as well.
How about the Rabbit Kick?
The Rabbit Kick, I feel like it's actually lower in IBUs and higher in alcohol. So it's the 45 IBUs, and the alcohol is 8.0%.
Right.
And I feel like I taste a lot of the not taste the alcohol, but like heat from the alcohol comes through quite a bit. Not in an unpleasant way. It's almost like there was some fruit liqueur kind of thing, right? Like there's some heat to it, like but a fruity heatiness, a heaty fruitiness. You know what I'm saying?
A hot fruitiness.
A hot fruitiness. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, it does. I've seen a Carry On film, but I think you're right that it's not unpleasant. But if I was to blind taste both of these, and then you ask me which one had a higher ABV, it wouldn't be hard to pick out at all, or at least to think that you could pick out the Rabbit Kick having 8% and being the higher octane version.
It's got a lot of sweetness too, as well. I think almost like an orange hard candy kind of taste to it.
One of the hops in this is Nelson Sauvin, which is famous for having a kind of white grape character. You picking up a lot of white grape from this?
Now that you say it, sure. I don't know, it didn't hit me up front, but not a lot.
Yeah, if I had to put my finger on what the identifiable fruit characters of these are, I would say that the Rabbit Punch has a big citrusy character. As we said, kind of orangey. That's probably from the Idaho 7 and the combination of the other hops. Whereas the Rabbit Kick tastes to me like mango. You get quite a lot of thick mango juice character from this. Maybe even slightly fermented mango juice. You ever leave a mango out in the sun for too long and it starts to ferment? I mean, who am I asking? I know you've done that.
Who hasn't?
Yeah, who hasn't?
Who
done
among
that?
us?
And in the best possible way, that is kind of the character that I get from this beer a bit. In addition to the kind of the high octane sense of the ABV.
It's fun that we're doing these side by side. Of course, the only reason we're doing these side by side is because our customers cannot. Because we're drinking the end of the keg of Rabbit Punch, which was on tap for like 2 days.
Yep.
And is now gone. And we have the Rabbit Kick on now. So, anybody who came in and enjoyed the Rabbit Punch can now come in and enjoy the Rabbit Kick. But sadly, it might be an idea in the future if we get both of these again to put them on side by side so people can have them back to back or side by side if they want.
Do we not have cans of both of these beers in the showcase fridge right now?
Oh, you genius. We do. We have cans of both of these beers. Not a lot, but we do have them.
My goodness. So a solution is staring us in the face right here. If you want to try both of these beers side by side, get them in cans. Pour them out. Enjoy them. do a little triangle test for yourself. See if you can identify the different beers.
Rabbit Punch, Rabbit Kick, and Asahi Super Dry.
Well, yes, that would be one way of doing that. I was going to say pour 2 glasses of the Rabbit Kick or the Rabbit Punch and 1 glass of the other one.
I see what
and
you're
then you have to be able to identify which one is which.
Right on.
But yeah, you could do that as well. You could get some of Suntory's new Triple Nama in a minor detour. My kids brought some kind of popping candy back the other day. It was this fun thing where you have to mix together several different packets and it forms a kind of amusing shape in the tray that you then eat. And I was looking at the ingredients, and the first 5 ingredients were all just different words for sugar.
Right. Yeah.
Right. 100% of this is sugar.
Yeah.
And the one saving grace of it is that the whole packet only weighed 23 grams.
Right.
It's 23 grams of sugar is what you've just eaten there. But I did look at the, stop us now lawyers if this is actionable, but I did look at the ingredient list for Suntory's Triple Nama, and it was malt, good, hops, okay, nice, yeah. Corn, and sugar. So, speaking of delicious beer in cans...
And being aware,
do you have anything to tell us about the beer that is coming up in our fridge?
You know that I do. We've got 2 exciting things coming in. The first is from our friends at Verter, or Battere, if you're so inclined, up in Okatama. So we get their release in every week. It's always great. This week is a mixed pack of 3 different beers, but it's an artist collaboration collection, which they did once last year as well.
Very interesting.
So it's, as the name suggests, they've collaborated with a local artist to do designs for the cans. They look really good, and it's quite striking for Verter as well, because their cans are, like, they have a very strong visual identity. So when they do something different, I think it stands out quite a lot. And they still do it in a very Verter kind of way. But those are coming in, and it's a mixed case. There's only 8 of each. I think similar to the anniversary stuff, that's probably going to be a pretty hot item. So if you want that, it's coming in on Friday. You know what to do. You know where we are.
Yeah, be here early on Friday.
The other thing coming in also on Friday is, I'm not totally sure, I haven't seen them before. It might be a brand new brewery in Japan, and it's called LA Ale Works, or Los Angeles Ale Works. We got a mix pack from them as well. It's 4 different beers. They're all IPAs. IPAs are hazy IPAs, I think. But yeah, it's a brewery that has a lot of buzz. And if you look up their beers on the various rating websites, they're all really positively reviewed. So that should be good too. That's 4 different beers, so there's only 6 cans each of those. There's one coming in called Kontiki, which is I think they called it a tropical triple. I think it's 10.1%. Extremely fruity, juicy. Not sure if it's hazy, but a tropical IPA at 10.1%, which intrigues me because making an IPA that high octane is a challenging thing to make something that's still really good and drinkable and delicious. It's been done before. I am a big fan of Revision's Poor Decisions, which I think is 11%, which is an absurdly drinkable 11% beer. But that's a challenge for brewers. So I'm pretty interested in that, but I'm interested in the rest of the Los Angeles Ale Works stuff as well.
And if it's coming in a mix pack, there will only be, 6 or 8 cans?
That's right, yeah. 4 kinds, 6 cans of each.
Interesting. Don't sleep on any of those. Speaking of radically reinventing the format of this website, of this podcast, what we've completely blown past? Pairings.
We had an opportunity to double pair.
We are going to double pair these beers.
Okay, back it up.
I'm going to roll the dice once, I think. But we are going to pair each of these beers with that same thing. 1 of 8 options, although, of course, it can't be the 2 most recent options, which were...
Wildcard and food. What did we say about wildcard before? Did we say we can have wildcard again?
Yeah.
It's wildcard?
Yeah, wildcard doesn't count.
So let's just say food then. Can't be food.
All right.
Anything else goes.
It's not going to be food. What is it going to be? Let's roll the dice and find out. Video game. Interesting. So, have you been playing any video games recently? What's on the top of your mind? What would you like to pair with these 2 contrasting but similar beers?
I've been playing a lot of Fallout 4. I could drink both of these while playing Fallout 4 for sure.
Classic.
Yeah, I buy everything on sale because, I'm not paying $60 for the base game. I had Fallout 4 already, and then in one of the sales, maybe the New Year's sale, I found all of the DLC for $10 total.
Excellent. That's
Pretty
a lot
good.
of game.
Yeah, Far Harbor, I played through. Far Harbor was a lot of gameplay, and now I'm in Nuka Town, I think, the Disneyland kind of theme park expansion. Okay. It's great, really great. If you like, Fallout series and Bethesda's personal brand of glitchiness.
What is it about that game that you think would pair particularly well with this beer?
Oh, no, I'm not pairing. You just said, what am I playing?
Oh, right, sorry.
I said, I am playing that, and I could drink these while playing that.
But?
And then we detoured, yeah, but there was a but there that was going to diverge us from that path.
Let's hear about your but.
I didn't have anything. I couldn't think of anything. Hang on. Give me a moment.
Give Dan a moment to think about his but.
Did you ever play Sleeping Dogs?
Yes, I played about the first 10 minutes of Sleeping Dogs.
Really?
Yeah.
And what, didn't take you?
My PC wasn't high spec enough, so it just wasn't running.
Fair enough. Sleeping Dogs, for those who don't know, it's basically GTA, but The Departed in Hong Kong.
Yep.
It is incredible. I think of all the games that have come out over the years and tried to take what GTA is doing and put it into a new game or a new skin and make something good. Sleeping Dogs is far and away the best one that I have ever played. It's a great story. It's kind of a great mix of seriousness and silliness. It's open world. It's really fantastic. But it's a game you want to sink into. There's a lot of stuff to do in it, as often happens in open world games. So I could see myself drinking Rabbit Punch while playing Sleeping Dogs because I'm going to be there for a while. So I feel like if I bought like a 4-pack or a 6-pack of this, I don't know how they sell them online, but if I had a few of these in the fridge, I could drink a couple of these while playing Sleeping Dogs for a few hours.
Yeah, I remember you regain your health by buying pork buns from street vendors. That was a really nice little touch.
Yeah, there's various meters that you can refill through using the services available to you in Hong Kong,
right?
Shall we say?
Interesting.
So yeah, it's a deep game.
There is also a lot of punching and kicking, I will say.
There's a bit of both, right? You're an undercover guy.
But
so when you're
few guns, am I right?
No, there is. That's the thing.
There are guns.
When you're in like police mode, then you're blowing people away, and when you're in like maintaining your turf, yes, like a real cop. When you're in your gang guy mode, then you're punching people. So there's it's pretty interesting. It's a great game, and like I got to it late. It came out 10 years ago now, something like that. I bought it on sale as well. It showed up, and a friend had recommended it to me years ago, and I didn't pick it up. And then I was looking at the sales, and it's a 10-year-old game, so it was like $2 or something, like $1.99 on the PlayStation Store. So I bought it, like the Game of the Year edition with the DLCs and stuff. Anyway, recommend it. Still holds up. Still great. Great story. Great dialogue. Great gameplay.
Sleeping Dogs. Is there a rabbit in it? Just really round out the pairing?
Let's
say yes.
Yeah, why not?
There probably
why
is
not?
a rabbit
Sure.
somewhere. I also recently picked up a game on a Steam sale. It's called Curse of the Golden Idol. It's kind of hard to describe what you do. You look at a picture of a crime scene, and you can click on various things there to get their names into your word bank. So you can click on a letter, and there might be a few names in the letter. You click on the names, those go into your word bank. And then you have to go into your thinking screen and figure out who did what to whom and with what, using the words that you have picked up by clicking around on the crime scene.
Okay.
So you might read a letter to somebody might have a monogrammed handkerchief, but all the while you're looking for contrasts and small differences in details, right? This person's first name might be in this letter, their last name might be in a flyer advertising their music show that they're doing tonight. So you're always having to put together different bits of information to reach some kind of whole conclusion at the end. It's very interesting. It is unlike anything I've ever played before, right? The very low poly art style. Think original Monkey Island
Right, okay.
kind of
I
level
like that.
level of
Yeah.
art. Maybe a little bit higher than that, but and it's set in I think 18th century England, and there is a golden idol which is cursed, as best I can tell. I've only finished the first 5 crimes
Okay.
out of 11.
Is it difficult so far?
It is getting more difficult. The first crime was just basically one screen. It was pretty obvious what had happened. Like you're almost watching it happen, and then you're just figuring out how to do it. The crime that I'm on now, there are 4 screens. There are like 12 different characters here. You have to figure out whose room is whose. Somebody appears to have been poisoned, so what kind of poison did they use? The sentences get longer and more complicated as you go through the crimes. And I'm only on the 5th crime, I think. So it's going to get more and more complicated from here. Also, Steam sale, so it was like 600 yen. Pretty good deal. Pretty good deal.
That sounds good.
Curse of the Golden Idol. Wait for the next Steam sale.
Okay. Rabbit Kick.
Yes.
Are you comparing both of these with one game?
Yes. Because the point is that the game contains lots of contrasts and lots of small details.
I thought
that
we
you
were
are
pairing
comparing
both of
against
them
each
with
other.
the same category.
Okay.
I've misunderstood.
Well, that's what I did, but you can do something different if you like. So Rabbit Punch,
With Sleeping Dogs.
Sleeping Dogs. Rabbit Kick.
Kingdom Rush series tower defense games.
Okay.
Have you played them?
I don't think so, no.
Oh man, they're so good.
Play this on your phone?
Yeah, you can play it on your phone. Tablet's probably better because you have more screen real estate. You like tower defense stuff
No.
at all? Or you haven't played any that you enjoyed?
No, I've played a few that I enjoyed. Dungeon of the Endless is kind of a tower defense game, but also kind of a dungeon exploring game.
Okay.
It's pretty good.
I've heard about that. I can't remember what it is. Anyway, we digress. Kingdom Rush, I think, probably one of the best series of tower defense that's available out there. It's got kind of a cartoony style, but it's got a ton of depth to it. But as in a lot of tower defense stuff, you have moments of kind of, well, maybe not a lot, but like there's a lot of activity to Kingdom Rush. It's not just setting up your towers and letting things go and seeing what happens.
Right.
I'm not sure if it's the first one or in subsequent ones, but eventually you have heroes that you're kind of like piloting around the track and having them use their abilities. You're upgrading things on the fly as the waves come through. So it's actually very kind of intensive tower defense type of game. There is some downtime where you're setting things up. And that's why I think Rabbit Kick is a good beer for that, because it's got quite a lot of punch to it. You can have a sip or two in that little bit ironic. A lot of kick maybe is more appropriate. But you can have a sip or two during that downtime when you're kind of not taking things easy, but you have a little bit more time to work with. And then when the action heats up, that taste and that heat's going to linger with you and carry you through those moments. And then once you get through that wave, you have a quick sip, and then you kind of upgrade your towers and do your thing, and then you're back in it again.
Spend your premium currency.
That's it.
Yeah, I've never tried one of those. Maybe I'll give it a go. Maybe. That sounds interesting. Since you got to pair it with 2 games, I'm going to do the same.
Okay.
I'm going to pair Rabbit Kick with Dungeon of the Endless. Which just reminded me about it. It's a great game, and I'm going to keep this brief. It's great because it really rewards you for paying attention. Mm-hmm. Like you open doors in a dungeon, and every time you open a door, you might spawn enemies in an unlit room. You only have enough power to light a certain amount of rooms. So you can build stuff in the lit rooms that will attack the enemies as they try and get to your crystal. These things, like, it says the item is tear gas. But then if you read the item description, it's actually tear gas, because it's a gas that tears the molecules apart from the creatures as they walk through. So it's quite funny, and it's one of those ones where reading the item descriptions rewards you a lot. Paying attention rewards you a lot. A lot like drinking and contrasting 2 very delicious beers.
A lot like Curse of the Golden Idol. What's it?
Yeah, Curse of the Golden Idol. Good memory. Yeah.
Was that what it was?
Yeah, I think that's right. I only started playing it 2 days ago.
Okay, right.
Good memory.
Also, paying attention to details.
Yes.
That was my point. Sorry, not my memory, but...
Well, you were paying attention to the details in both of my stories.
Man,
Absolutely.
I must be great at those games.
You should get them. They're great. 2 excellent beers, 4 excellent games this week. We really are shaking up the format. Why don't we shake it up one final time by giving the brewery update at the end of the episode?
Oh.
Yeah, man.
Man.
2 beers in the tank right now that are probably going to be kegged early next week if everything goes to plan. We have a new batch of Shibasaki Session just in the nick of time because we have almost run out of Shibasaki Session. I tinker with the recipe a tiny bit every time we brew it. There's our pizza's just arrived. I tinker with the recipe a little bit every time we brew it, just a tiny bit. So paying attention to those tiny details might reward you. And the other beer that we have in the tank is a single hop pale ale. We put more into the first batch pale ale than I thought they were going to be. So this is a similar recipe to that, although I have changed it a bit and we dry hopped it. But it's a single hop pale ale using Centennial hops. So if you're ever curious to find out like what does a hop taste like, single hop pale ales are a great way to find it out. You can really pay attention to all the different notes in the orchestra when there's only one instrument playing. That's a very tortured metaphor. And an excellent place to leave it this week. Thank you for torturing these metaphors with me, Daniel Bellamy.
Always a pleasure.
Paying attention to all of these details. Thank you very much for listening, everybody. Stay safe, and we will see you again next time.
Thanks for listening, everybody.